good afternoon already. I'm going to share with you a little bit on the Caribbean connectivity. All these beautiful streams and games that our previous speaker was referring to. From a Caribbean perspective, all of these is basically located in Miami. All right, so each and all of these islands that you see starting in Trinidad and Tobago, all the way up to Cuba, Jamaica, and a lot of other markets, a lot of other islands you've pretty much heard about, are all depending on, in the left upper corner, the Miami Internet Hub. It varies between the 2,000 kilometers up to 1,500 kilometers for these islands to reach the Internet Hub, which is in Miami. And that goes with the necessary latency, which will affect all the gaming and streaming. And it is also affected by the submarine cables that we need for the connectivity to get to Miami. So this slide is meant to give you a bit of the geographics of where the Caribbean is located. And then the next slide is to explain to you that the Caribbean is part of the LACNIC RIR, where we have also the LAC-IX, which is the association of all the IXs in LATAM. It is, you can see all the members mentioned along the South America. 25 members, one organization, and as AMS-IX, we are part of that organization, LAC-IX. Actually, we are a board member of the LAC-IX board for the past 5 years, I believe. As such, we are able to provide support, knowledge, and share whatever experience is needed in the LAC-IX. Okay, numbers. The Caribbean has a population of about 44 million inhabitants scattered around all these islands that you have just seen. So that means that each and every island has a small population. 32 million tourists a year, so pretty much almost one-on-one. 31 island markets, 30 submarine cable systems that are connecting the Caribbean with Miami, and only 463 ASN registered, scattered around these 31 island markets, which gives you an idea about the volume of these markets. There are 9 internet exchanges, and when it comes to data centers, there is limited information publicly available on the Tier 3 or Tier 4 level data centers. So this is basically to give you some specifics about the region, how the region sits together, how it's organized. And if you look at this slide again, it gives you an idea about how the Caribbean is organized and the position of AMS-IX in it. And as you can see on my left, your right probably, you see that we have Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire at this moment connected to AMS-IX Caribbean. But to my right, you also see a few other islands, Sebastacia, St. Martin, that are also connected to the IX in Curacao. And the other 8 IXs that I mentioned in the previous slide are scattered around in all these other markets. So, and all of this, of course, to Miami, where we do have the Internet Hub, where all the content needs to be downloaded from. So from a submarine connectivity, because that's also important to look at. As I said, these islands are in the Caribbean Sea, and they are heavily depending on the submarine cables that are in that region, right? So for the internet entering into all these islands, all of these cables, basically all of the cables are going to Miami, and between Miami and each and every island, there is today connectivity through submarine cable. So the submarine cables have become a critical element to these Caribbean islands to have any form of connectivity to the internet. Well, due to the geographical spread, the sizes of the market, the low traffic volumes, this is a challenge. The business cases are always very difficult for the ISPs because the regular going rate for connectivity between these islands and Miami is roughly about $4 a meg, which means that anytime you need 10 gigabits to connect and get your gaming and get your streaming video, you're looking easily at 10 gig times $4 a meg monthly. So you would say that that would really make the business case for an IX on each and every island to bring the content down and avoid all that transport costs. So that's how we got going in 2008, 2009 in Curaçao, bringing the content down, saving all these transport costs. Back then, it was not $4 a meg, but actually between $10 and $12 a meg, so the business case was quite easy to make. There is an initiative going at this moment to establish a Caribbean Data Center Association, where all the data centers in the Caribbean are looking into organizing themselves and build a network between all these data centers to get them all connected and in a kind of like a joint cooperation, bring content down into all these data centers spread around these smaller markets. So there are about 30 submarine cable systems, regional and internationally. I'll show you a slide later on how this looks like. There is enough, there's quite some cables actually to get to resiliency and diversity, especially within the region. If you look at it from an international perspective, there is less diversity and less resiliency, but it is still there. And because of all these smaller markets and low traffic volumes, the business case to deploy new submarine cables are, let's say, difficult. So what we are looking at from a financial perspective, that is, so what we're looking at in the region is that the traffic growth is not really fueling new cable systems, but actually increasing the utilization rate of the present cables. So it is actually looking for increasing the lit capacity on those cable systems by the operators, owners of those cable systems. The vast majority of the traffic is basically what we call northbound from the Caribbean to the US. As I said, Miami is the international internet hub. So basically all these islands are connected with Miami to get to the content that is there. Far out majority, therefore, is northbound to Miami, through to New York, and through to Europe. However, there is an increasing demand for an alternative route. And that alternative route would then be southbound through Fortaleza and through to Europe. I'll show you a map with the locations and how that works, right? So from a business case perspective, North America is still ruling, but we do see already the migration demand to Fortaleza and through to Europe. From a latency perspective, it doesn't really make a difference for the Caribbean, because Caribbean, North America to Europe would be pretty much the same distance and thus same latency as from the Caribbean to Fortaleza and through to Europe. So this is a picture showing you the spaghetti of cables in the Caribbean. There is not really lack of submarine cable systems. The issue, the challenge that we are facing is actually the pricing, right? So at $4 a meg, 10 gig, 100 gig is very, very difficult to make a financial business case for the ISPs. Again, more reason to have an IX in the region and caching the content locally, saving on the transport cost and improving the latency. So as you can see, well, what can I say? A lot of cable systems, right? Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. But let me see if this thing works. Yeah, here. This British Virgin Islands is a very focal point of a lot of submarine cable systems between North America up there. There's Miami. All these systems to British Virgin Islands, and there through a lot of these Caribbean islands to Trinidad and Tobago. Here we have Curacao with AMS-IX Caribbean, and Fortaleza is back down here to my right hand here. So, and basically from AMS-IX perspective, AMS-IX Caribbean, we are connected through this cable system up to Miami, and it is resilient through a ring, right? Coming back, and this is Venezuela, right? Panama and a lot of Central America and South America down here. So this is a new build projected from Cuba to, I think this is, between Dominica and St. Lucia, Barbados, I think it is. No, that's here. Oh, it's another island. But between this and Cuba, and as you can see, Cuba is quite isolated with submarine cables. But they are connected, however, to AMS-IX Caribbean. So we also service some of the Cuban traffic from Curacao. So this gives you an idea of how the connectivity is in the Caribbean. And if you look at from a bit broader perspective, we have Fortaleza here. So and Miami is up there, New York, and so you see the majority of the U.S. traffic and Europe, right, passing through the Caribbean. Puerto Rico is also U.S. down to this side of the Caribbean. But as you can see, there is also existing systems from the Caribbean to Fortaleza. And from Fortaleza, we could go up to Portugal, continue through, and from Fortaleza to Africa on this side, and here along the coast side of South America. We call that the Guianas, and there is also existing systems that gets to AMS-IX Caribbean in this area. So, you would expect that there would be much more IXs in the Caribbean, as I said, for the transport costs and the latency. However, that has still not materialized. So as AMS-IX, we are looking into a venture with a few of these islands up here in the eastern part of the Caribbean to six different island markets to see if we can join forces and build a regional hub for the content. So not an IX for each and every island, but building a regional content hub where all these islands in the eastern Caribbean, there we go. Oh, that's someone else's presentation, right? I think I messed it up. There you go. It's so nice working at AMS-IX. You mess something up, they solve it. So where we are, one more. Yeah, there we are, right button. So we are looking at, we are looking into working with these 6 island markets, starting this content hub. And the idea is that if that would become a success, which we expect it will, see that at the end, we can get all these 31 island markets to join forces and have a real regional IX, which would make sense in a region with only 40 million people and limited number of ASNs. So we do believe that that will work. Okay, as I said, there is an upcoming market demand to route the traffic to Fortaleza and through to Europe. But that's not only from a Caribbean perspective, but that demand is also from a European perspective. So there's also talks about traffic from Europe to LATAM and then through the Caribbean islands. As I said, not so much from a latency perspective, because for the Caribbean, that doesn't make a difference whether you go north or south, but it is an alternative route. It is a redundant route, and it will bring more dynamic to the market and see if it can lower market prices from $4 down to whatever pricing we can reach in that region. So it would be an alternative transatlantic connection, and that is something that we are really looking at. We are already in talks with the Brazilian IX.BR because they are located at Fortaleza with their IX. So we are looking into whether it's feasible or not, and what the market thinks of connecting with IX.BR in Fortaleza, creating this route to Europe. Okay. So as I showed you on the previous map, there is no need to put new connectivity in place. The connectivity between a few of the Caribbean islands and Brazil, Fortaleza, is already in place. It's already operational. So that's a matter of routing the traffic correctly, getting commercial agreements, and what have you not to get that traffic going. The routes are pretty much through USA, Puerto Rico, USA, St. Croix, Dominican Republic, Trinidad and Tobago, but also from Curacao. So today we already have this connectivity between Fortaleza, Brazil, and AMS-IX Caribbean, and that makes it possible for us to start new routes. It's a matter of pricing and traffic volume still, but as you know, traffic is growing, pricing is going down, so it's a question of getting to the right balance in traffic volume and pricing. The submarine cable connecting a lot of Caribbean islands with Brazil is today the Americas 2. At the same time, the ready for service date of that cable was from 2000, so it already reaches its 23 years of existence. So most probably there will be competing systems as such, the pricing on this particular system will start to go down, making it for us feasible to make that business case fly this time. So I just don't look to my left, so I don't see Serge. So future plans for this Caribbean system. I don't dare to go back to, I do dare, yeah. What we're really looking at from the LATAM perspective and AMS-IX Caribbean perspective is the country Venezuela and the Guyana, French Guyana, Suriname. You see, Caribbean is quite small. It's limited market. But these countries are, compared to the Caribbean, huge markets. And we were talking about gaming, we were talking about streaming. There is a lot of CDNs that don't dare to put their content in these countries, especially not in Venezuela, due to whatever. But mind you, the Venezuelan people are the same like us, gaming, streaming, and doing all that stuff, right? But today, their content is also in Miami. And we're trying to do is bring that down to Curacao. Miami, Venezuela, and the Guianas is about 80 milliseconds of latency. Curacao, Venezuela, on an existing cable system, is single-digit latency. It's about 5-6 milliseconds. So the market is there. Again, it is other business factors that we need to overcome to make this also a success, servicing Venezuela from AMS-IX Caribbean. Yes, Serge? I'm missing one slide, though, but I don't see it anymore, so yeah. Yeah, okay. Where is Enrica? I keep pushing button until I get slide 11.
Okay.
Well, there was the last slide, but I'm missing it in the presentation. That's about LATAM, right, and the Caribbean and North America, Asia, and there was a slide of the subsea cable systems connecting. It's back. Connecting all these different continents with each other. And typically you see from South America, from the Atlantic side, connectivity to the US, and from the Pacific side, connectivity to the US, continuing through to Asia, right? And that's basically how the LATAM region is connected. Now you are allowed.
Thank you very much, Nico. Thanks, Nico. Again, content was very interesting. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions. Just one little point. You talk about the Ella link from Fortaleza to Portugal and the fact that it's redundant. And you did mention pricing, but it's been in operation for over a year now. Has it had any impact on that $4 you're talking about, or do you see that?
Well, I spoke to someone today here, and they told me they have $1 a meg on the Ella link to Portugal. Mm-hmm. But then we still need to continue through, of course, to Amsterdam. Right. But $1 a meg is much better than $4 a meg. Right. However, the content is still in Miami, right? So we need to bring the content down and see that we get Fortaleza up to speed, mm-hmm. To have the same content as they have in Miami.
Okay,
yeah.
Brilliant.
So $1 a meg is much better already. Yeah.
Better than $4. Okay, thanks, Nico. And Nico will be around for the next couple of days if you've got any questions for him. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.